In hard rock and metal music, guitars tend to be larger than life. They tend to occupy like a huge amount of space in the mix. And there are a few techniques that you can employ to do this. One of these is splitting the guitar sound into two different amps. That's actually a very expensive thing to do in the studio. You have to set up two amps, have a splitter, record both of them at the same time, or even record DI and then reamp everything. In software, that's very easy to do, and we're going to show you how right now. So here are the two sounds that we just created. We have our Mesa Boogie amp, and we also have our Soldano amp. There's a great feature in Amplitube that it allows you to send your guitar signal in two different amps at the same time. You can do this, of course, on Guitar Rig if you want. Most software will allow you to do this, but even if you don't have a plugin that can do this natively, you can still duplicate the signal in two different channels and record and monitor at the same time. But let's see how we can do it here. If you happen to have Amplitube, you have these different configurations here. And basically what happens is once you switch between them, you see that the signal flow changes. So in configuration number 1, it's a very typical like a single amp configuration. So you have your input, then you go into the tuner, then you go to your stomp boxes, then the signal goes to amp number A, then to your inserts, the insert goes back to the amp, and then you go to your cabinet, to your rack effects B, and then to your speakers. Now, if you want to have two different amps at the same time, so two different chains, then you're looking for configuration number 7. So what happens in this configuration is you go from your hi-Z input to your tuner, then the signal is split in two, so you have two chains. You have your stomp box A that goes into your amp A, insert A, then your cabinet, and then all of them go into the rack A and rack B. Same with the second chain, stomp B, amp B, insert B, and so on and so forth. So you have two parallel channels, two parallel guitar amp chains. And the great thing is, you can play at the same time, you can listen to both amps. But the trick is, you want to get this really wide sound. So what we can do is we can listen to one of the sounds now. Let's listen to the Mesa Boogie one first. Great. Let me just pull down the Soldano. Mesa Boogie. Aaron, can you please give us some guitar? Let me activate the monitor.
As well? Cool, got it.
Great. Let's go to the Soldano. Yep. Great. So now let's blend those two amps together. Cool. Aaron, do you want to give us some guitar?
Cool.
So this is our Mesa Boogie. And let's add the Soldano into the game. I mean, just by doing this, you have made the sound larger than life. But one more trick you can do, which is very common amongst metal mixing engineers or producers, is to basically pan your different amps hard left and right, and that will give you an even bigger sound. So let's try this. I'm going to pan the Mesa Boogie to the left and the Soldano to the right, hard left and right. Aaron,
Cool.
Can you give us some guitar? That's pretty huge, right?
It's massive.
So the reason why you perceive this sound as so big and larger than life is because your brain picks up the sounds from individual speakers, left and right. So you immediately get this kind of 3D effect because the sound is so different on every speaker, and they have these variations in timing and all those things. It sounds really, really big. And that's a great way to create big guitar sounds. It doesn't even have to be a high gain sound. This can work on pretty much everything, right?
You can use that technique with any of the sounds we've demonstrated today.
Any of the sounds, clean sounds, crunchy sounds. You can use it in every possible configuration.
I mean, it's the same as double tracking, right? Well, almost. It's
Yeah.
not quite this different takes, but it's different sounds, so they sound bigger.
It's a very similar effect,
Yeah.
although double tracking is always a better way to
even
do
better.
it.
It's one step
I mean,
further.
if you want to expand on it, that's a very good point, Aaron. Actually, the best way to do it if you want to expand on that idea is to record one take and use an amp, then record a second take, use a different amp, then pan them hard left and right, and then you get an even better sound because basically you have a different take as well.
Yeah, you get the different sound variations between the two different speakers, and you also get the two different slight timing differences.
Time variations, exactly. Of course, it always helps if you are a bit tight with the timing. If you're
Yeah.
very loose when you play, it
can sound a bit mushy.
You might be better with this trick.
I mean, I know a lot of people like to use quad tracking, which is where you do 4 takes, 2 hard left, 2 hard right, different sounds. And you can even use like one amp on both one side and use the same amp on the other side, and then you do the same thing. So you use 2 different amps, 4 takes. That seems to be a bit mushy a lot of times because you've got so many different takes, so many different variations, but you can get a really thick, grungy sound with that.
Yeah, true. Great. Let's try a different technique now.